This is the beginning of the rest of your afterlife.
Acid flashback right now. Brenda, what the You're getting verified?
I'm sorry, Shane. I just really need the parking. Question is, do you want to? You can lie to me all you want. You can lie to this bitch all you want. Amen. You're just doing all of this for attention. Maybe I'm just for attention. Anna Maria Marconi. And there's more where that came from, you literal slime ball. Spidey! But first, for those of you whose taste is a little more earthbound. I would love to do an episode about like a famous little person from history. That would be super fun.
Which famous person would you want to do?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's going back too far, but there are a lot of ancient little people like deities
Right.
that were worshipped for their dwarfism, and they became like treasurers of like ancient Egypt and people who oversaw a lot of money and jewels. And there is like a god or named after a person, Bess. And then if it was someone like of more modern times,
Yeah,
probably Billy Barty, because yeah, it would be the most, like, I think, informative for this generation because, you know, he really was, like, the forefather of LPA, Little People of America, and pushing for the rights of little people in media, pushing for the rights of, like, people to be able to, like, work normal jobs. And he was a little bit more, like, conservative, like, in terms of, like, his beliefs of like how he wanted little people to come off as like like super normal. But at that time I see how important that is because, you know, we're coming out of like the whole nuclear family stereotype that he grew up in. And it's interesting because he just lived such a different normal life. I think he was in over like definitely over 100 productions since his childhood in like, I don't even know, 1930s or something.
Right. When did he pass away?
I last saw him in 1998.
Okay.
And then I think he passed away not too long after that, maybe year 2000.
Right. So you knew him well.
I did not know him that well, but I did do a little dance with him. We had a little box step going.
Oh, I love that.
At an LPA meeting when I was like 8 years old or something. And they were like, go dance with him,
go dance. Oh my God, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, he was nice.
Well, we've started the interview already. I love it. But what I want to do is I'm gonna, you know what? Everyone, Katrina Kemp. Oh my God, she is an actress, or should we say, what do we say? Actor, actress?
Lately, I've been saying actor because I've heard people are offended by actress now, but I am not. I will go with either. However,
yeah,
I'm also I do say stunt woman though.
I know. No, now stunt woman, right? You do. I read that. And then you're a singer. You're a video game enthusiast. Yes. I wrote down that your energy is magnetic. I mean, you are. I mean, I look at you on screen, and I'm always like, I pause for a second. No, you do. I'm tearing up because, and I don't know why I tear up sometimes, but you have such a presence about you. Anyway, I don't know what it is.
You're getting verklempt over my performance of mine. I don't even. I'm like, thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna have to turn this on. I'm getting too emotional because I'm getting to the point of people, and as you grow up, you play with your little Hot Wheels and you watch TV and this and that, and you grow up and you find out that the most important thing in life is that other person. And I'm just so blessed to be surrounded and entwined in this community of family. So that is what's so important to me. And when I see people that I admire, that I work with, that have that presence, I get verklempt. So
You're so sweet, and you know what? You create so much family. So kudos to you. That's really hard to do. And I know we've talked about doing like some form of this for years.
right, well,
And we've seen each other and stuff. And every time I see you, you're always surrounded by people who love you. And you're always, doing some form of giving back and gratitude and community outreach. So thank you, honestly.
well, it's a blessing for me. And to me, I don't feel like it's like I just do what I do. You say community outreach. It's just family for me. If I had to put it into one word. Um, but well, it took a while because you were traveling around the world. You were
Yeah.
doing. Oh, if I want to go to the actor and this stunt woman, all of that. What was the first thing that you did?
When I was a kid, I loved messing around with a video camera, and my mom was always making home videos.
Yeah.
I would put on like little plays with friends, and we would write scripts. And I've always had a trunk of costumes, like no matter what age, like, and then when I got to high school, I started running my school's live television show by senior year. And it was kind of the same variation where, except with this time we were, um, what's it called, sponsored by people like John Voight and um, the state, because we were like a California distinguished school. So our media program, would teach us how to use Final Cut Pro, how to engineer a sound booth, how to direct a live news broadcast, all the ins and outs of that. And then we would also switch off each week and do on camera. And I got so into the on camera hosting position and getting to write those scripts, and just doing whatever felt fun in the moment and had to do with pop culture at the time. Like, YouTube was really blowing up at that time. And so my friends and I would go out a lot and run around Hollywood, because we all grew up in the valley. And
Mm.
um, we'd look for opportunities to do on camera interviews with celebrities, like on the red carpet. And it was so fun. And then that took us to meeting paparazzi, and then like the paparazzi would text us and tell us where they were going to be, and then we would go and like see more random celebrities and people and political figures and book signings and all kinds of stuff, and just really took advantage of that.
And was this in high school or right after high school?
This was like when I was like 15, 16,
Oh, wow. Okay.
up until I'd say when I turned 19. That's when my friend was like, you need to come audition at Universal Studios Hollywood. And we were always hanging out at City Walk, and I knew how to take the bus and the subway, and so I was like, oh, okay. Like, I started going to Cal State University Northridge for TV production, but I was also like, I needed a job. And so he was like, why not do something that could be like really fun? And so I just went, and I was the only little person that year who went and auditioned. And so they immediately like just hired me as the Chucky in the studio tour,
Right.
which was like up on the hill inside of the Bates motel,
Oh, right.
like just down the hill from the Bates house.
Okay.
And so that year it was called like serial killer convention theme. And so the people are like on the tour, like
Right.
knowing that they're going to see this person, and Mother Bates, Norman, there were some characters from Strangers, and like this, a lot of my friends were working with me who I already knew before, so
Yeah.
we would like set up scares, like you take the A position, I'll be at B, and we'll meet at C, and get this group, and then that will throw them forward and throw these people back, and like
Right.
it was so fun. And
Well, how was, I mean, by doing something like that, by being a Chucky, by being a Mrs. Bates, do you get a few people running up, like you being so scared that they attack you, or have
oh
you?
yeah, eventually, I mean, I worked on and off as Chucky. It was kind of like being a Mickey Mouse character
Right.
of the Halloween season.
Yeah.
Also, I ended up getting promoted to work in the year-round like House of Horrors maze,
Oh, fun.
and that was really fun and amazing because it was a union position in AGVA, and or the Guild of Variety Artists.
Right.
And so that was like a really big like career push for me, because I was like, okay, like a union position is possible, like there's people looking out, there's a family here. And because of that, other people would be like, why don't you star in this low budget horror film we have, or like, can you come do this monster convention with us, and we'll like life cast you, and do all kinds of special effects makeup. And that stuff was always fun to me, because if I can play a character where I look in a mirror and I can't see myself like at all, I live for it.
Oh, right.
And
Oh my
so
God.
like once I tapped into that, I just kept going in that direction, and I eventually had to stop working as Chucky because I felt like I was getting in too many fights.
Oh, got it.
It was really hard to come down like at the end of the day because of all the heightened adrenaline.
Yeah.
And the energy changed in, because I started in 2009.
Yeah.
The energy changed drastically when flashlights were invented on cell phones. And it began this thing that I've seen in not just the disconnect between humanity and like what technology is kind of doing there,
Yeah.
but it disconnected like um people from other people in person once they were in the dark with a cell phone, and they could blind you with it.
Oh,
It would like because they're looking at it through a screen,
yeah.
they're not getting the full power of like this energy exchange, which was so fun at that job and so addictive about the job, which was you scare someone forward, they go back, and then they, with all the same energy, they run away.
Yeah.
Or it would be like a laugh thing where you scare them, you all laugh together, you point and make fun and do all kinds of Chucky impressions, and then they go, yeah, we love it, whatever. Everybody leaves in a good mood.
Yeah.
The second they allowed cell phones inside of a dark maze, like it kind of just ruined the whole thing. And then like at one point I would have like like 20 people surrounding me, no security. I would just be literally, I would sit down in the fetal position and not move. and people see their like straight up Britney Spears 2007, like
Oh my,
nobody caring, nobody trying to help.
oh my
Like,
God.
and then I would it would just get to a point where like I would just get really angry, and if someone were like physically assaulting me who was like a grown adult, I would just straight up rip the mask off, throw it down and be like, "You're trying to fight a woman who is disabled."
Oh my God.
And their whole like inner dialogue and every like you could just see everything like fritzing out, and ultimately they're ruining the whole day for their whole family and wasting all their money. Like, so I just, some people were, the men and women who did that job who were average height, um it was, for some of them, I'm sure they were going through the same thing, but other times, it's easier for them to hide,
Yeah.
go out, hide, do a little scare, hide. And for me, it was like this. I was, in charge of this whole Chucky area.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was,
That's amazing. I mean, when you started talking, when you were talking about this, it reminded me, especially when you first started to bring it up, when my dad was toward the end, he said, "Let's go to the cemetery and bring the camera, and I want you to film where the family is." So I went with my brother, and I was the one who did the camera. So I was standing here filming, okay, here is where so and so is, and here's the grave of your great uncle, and then he came to the spot, and I was filming this, and he says, "This is where my plot is and where I'm going to be." And at that moment, I went like this and took the camera away, but was still filming. And all of a sudden, like you said, I got the emotion of like, because the camera protects you
yeah,
from the emotion, like you
yeah.
said.
And you're thinking of, is this a good shot? Is this technical? Are my followers gonna love this shot of what this, and then it would turn into, do something for me, do this for me, take pictures with me, which we literally legally were not allowed to
Right.
take pictures or stop or, do anything like that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is exactly like that. The lens creates a barrier, that for a long amount of time, only professionals who understood it are were able to use
Right.
or able to have access to it, and now everybody has access to it in their pocket. And I would say, yeah, it was around 2012 when that was invented on iPhones and stuff, and
Wow.
it kind of, yeah,
I
it went.
never, that's a fascinating story. I'm like, did that sort of make you go into becoming a stunt woman?
I was already doing stunts at Universal
Right.
as Chucky. And like I would ride around on a scooter and like on a razor scooter and like go at the crowd and like carve away and like you- I remember at one point like getting on my friend's shoulders. He was 7 feet tall and he would be dressed as Michael Myers,
Yeah.
and I would get on his shoulders, and Michael Myers doesn't say anything. He just goes like at
Right.
whoever.
Yeah.
So I would be as Chucky, like, go over there, like, being all crazy and like laughing at people and be like, like, get that bitch. Like stuff that I probably wasn't allowed to say, but people loved it and they would be like so engaged, and it would be like a traveling show if you
Yeah.
walked throughout the park, and yeah, then it all changed when more and more people were trying to get packed in. It all became about social media and Instagram, like photos, like where you could take them, and it just all changed. And from there, I just kept pushing harder with stunts and dance through music videos, and I was finding that outlet, that same Chucky, like, you know, power and like kind of like, Chucky was very machismo character.
Right.
And with dance, I could find that as well with my dance crew that I was dancing with from 2012 up until the pandemic, really.
Right.
We're called Random Acts of Irreverent Dance, or RAID, and it's just a radically inclusive group that had people of all types and from everywhere all over the world, and some people able-bodied, some people disabled, all nationalities and creatives and all different kinds of jobs, and we would all get together throughout the month and perform at this massive mashup music club called Booty LA, and Booty is basically short for bootleg mashups.
Right.
And so we'd make it, the whole theme was like, like pirates booty, and because it's like pirating, but it got really huge in Silver Lake over like the time that I was staying with them.
Yeah.
And because people in the city knew that I was there every week, they would come and visit me, and then they would come with like opportunities like for jobs and music videos and photo
So
shoots.
they brought it to you. They came up to you from that job.
Yeah, and or would like reach out to me.
Well,
And
what's interesting too is I'm just hearing of all the things that you do, and you are so, what is it? I'm not like an amoeba. You or you. I mean, Chucky, you have that. You have the male part of you. You have the female part of you. You have the stunt woman. You have the dancer. So it's amazing.
I recently found out there's like a ton of vaudeville in my ancestry. And I was like, oh, that kind of makes like a lot of sense. I think those things are sometimes just like in your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I went like on a deep dive and found like a ton of my family members on my dad's side of the family um were somehow singers,
Yeah.
like pastors that like a lot of people followed and were like, writing things about them after they passed away, like how they, always spoke their mind and they were always out there like at a wedding or, like at the party, or they were like, um, traveling the country, all kinds of stuff. My grandfather was, a popular singer there, and he was best friends with Sidney Poitier growing
Oh,
up. And so I didn't even notice that he was like mentioned in his like, I get, is that a eulogy when someone passes away? Or no, that's like with a little speech you give, but
right.
in his like thing that says he is like preceded by all these people, or it was like Sidney Poitier had signed the thing, and I was like, that, I wish I could hear more stories about what that time was like and how people like that inspired other family members. And
Yeah.
but yeah,
Wow.
I've never been to the Bahamas, unfortunately. um and then I ended up finding a photo that was like full on a ton of people in my family doing a circus performance.
And
And
then and then you got involved with Berserk.
yeah, and that was super fun. And that what came so randomly through a fr- a friend of me of mine in high school,
Yeah.
who, it was like one of those things where like, you can't you can't talk to this person because they're in a fight with that person, like girl code kind of thing. I'm usually very neutral about that, so I was like, if someone doesn't want to be friends with me, I'm never going to try and force it.
Yeah.
So we never spoke, and then by the time we got to senior year, like this was from ninth grade to senior year, we realized we were like stuck in a class, like a giant group project together that was going to last like 5 months or something.
Yeah.
And we, throughout that course, we were like, oh my God, we are more closer than us with this other girl that was like the whole fight like began with. We had like more in common. And so senior year we became like BFFs, and we graduated, and she was like the little person who, you know, is a part of my circus for since she was a kid left. And she was like, so do you want to audition with them? And that was like my first real big audition as an adult.
Got it.
um I was working with a director who was a director for like Barbara Streisand or something. I
Yeah.
remember his name was Barry. Really cool guy. And he was like, the audition was just crazy, and I was like, if this is what it's like, I'm so down. But it's like the audition was like, don't use words, use these people as props, and was just telling me like what to do. And like I was, by the end of the audition, I was like climbing all over strangers, and like my friend, he like made her part of the audition, and it was so fun. I was like, if this is circus, I'm down. And so
Well, you know what's interesting again, the path that you have taken have led you. I mean, you were talking about music videos. What did you did one with Rihanna?
I did, yes. That actually was because I was in the circus, and I so weird. I really tried to manifest things and like overthink on them if I want them really badly.
Right.
And I know a lot of people would say that's probably unhealthy, but
No, I think it's great. I'm all about the M word.
yeah, I had constantly listened to this album of Rihanna's and had gone to all her concerts with my friends, everything. And I had a dream while I was in the circus that she came to the show and was like, I need her in my video. And she was sitting in the crowd. And I, in the dressing room, I would be playing this exact album all the time. And everybody else was, you know, like more rocker and like a little bit more like edgy and goth. And, you know, they would kind of make fun of me for my pop music, like that would hype me up before the show. And I was like, whatever, guys. Well, I just had this dream. So da 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 da. And we all laughed about it. And then that same week, I got a call from my agent at the time, Tim O'Shea.
Yeah.
And he um called me while I was at the circus and said, I don't know how this happened, but someone has seen a photo of you in your Cirque Berserk costume.
Yeah.
And they want you in this Rihanna video, like tomorrow. And I was like, what? Like, freaking out, freaking out. And yeah, it ended up being for the music video for her song S&M. And it ended up getting banned in like a zillion countries. And so I was like, this is kind of cool, but kind of like, I was like, oh. I was 20 at the time, and yeah, I had to work on her music video during the day.
Mhm.
And then it was such a crazy like experience. She was so cool, so nice, super late, and like by the time she showed up, we had a good like 3 hours to work with her, but I had already been there like 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
At this point, you know, I didn't drive or anything, and so my mom just wandered onto the set. And at some point in the middle of me dancing with Rihanna, my mom, it comes up behind the director, and they're like, go ahead, sit in this chair. And she's like trying to take like a shoddy like razor cell phone video. And Rihanna's like, "What? You're her mom? Oh my God." And like it was so fun. And she's like, "Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but she has to leave right now because we have to go back to the circus." And they were like, "No, no, like can you stay?" And I was like, "There is no replacement. Like I have to go be in the show. Like there's no swing or anything like that for that show."
Yeah.
So, it was just like the most surreal thing that my mom was like, "No more playing with Rihanna. We got to get back."
I know. Otherwise, you would have like said,
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like before GPS really on phones,
Yeah.
and so I just like through mental memory like somehow made our way from I don't some area of El Monte to like a downtown area. It was at Club Nokia at the time, the
Oh
show.
wow. Yeah.
And I had 10 minutes to get my costume and the full makeup on. We were like sprayed with a paint gun every single night. Our whole body is completely white.
Oh my God.
And
Sort of like Goldfinger, but
it was the most wild experience ever. And after that, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna keep manifesting and like try to keep this momentum going. And I think kind of like since the circus, things have just been like when I go for it or it comes to me, it's very like fast and like nonstop.
wow.
Yeah,
Power of the mind.
I
Power.
try. I've done that a few times with other jobs where I was like so intently focused, or I would say out loud to as many people, no matter who it annoyed, I should be like, I have to be on this. I have to work with this person.
Did that? It,
Have to be on this.
yeah.
I would even go into an audition. By the time the opportunity came and I was manifesting it, I would look them in the eye and be like, you don't understand. Like, you have to hire me for this. No one else. And they'd be like, oh, haha, you're somebody. I'd be like,
oh my God. I've
yeah.
got you. Is that what did you manifest Miley Cyrus video too? Didn't you twerk around the country with her or
Like
something?
a subconscious thing. So something I never even thought, like, never in my wildest childish dreams, like, because I was such a huge Miley fan when I was a kid, because I'm a few years older than her, but my siblings, I'm the oldest of four.
Yeah.
My siblings all obsessed with Hannah Montana, as many kids naturally are. And I was always, I was like on an MTV like ride since I was 8 years old. Like I wasn't coming down. When my family, my siblings were like, no, you really got to watch this show. It's really good. And I was like, okay. And so I got so into it with them.
Yeah.
And not in an ironic way, because I was like full on senior in high school, like blasting Hannah Montana and didn't care what people said. Like, I was that girl. Also, like, mix it up with some Tupac and, things that were popular at the time.
Right.
And I was always going to school dances and stuff. But I loved her music, and I thought that she had such a powerful voice, and her lyrics were so good. I was like, okay, even if this person isn't really like Hannah Montana in real life,
Right.
there is still something that she's bringing to that role, to that character. And I really admired that as someone who was acting and loved performing and singing, and I was always in choir. So, yeah, I would go to her concerts, and my friends like would surprise me with tickets to her concerts, and we would go to like a screening of a show where she would be at that was like a free thing. You could just, show up and get your ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I had seen her like an alarming amount of times live. And then years went by where I like I knew that she was like partying a lot with these people who uh were over at the Hollywood Roosevelt
Yeah. Right.
Features Madhouse, and she ended up getting close to a lot of little people. And I think, you know, there's something about certain celebrities, and I've worked for a lot of them, where I think they like vibe, or they see a bit of themselves in little people.
Uh-huh.
And I think because they feel like um being a little person is kind of like walking around as a nameless celebrity anyway. Everybody's staring, they're trying to take your picture. You have to answer all these questions and like be open and vulnerable, and if you're not, you're labeled this, or you know, you're rude, or you're too serious, or you know, all these things. And I think that there's just like an energy where if you're a little person who doesn't get overwhelmed by celebrities, they will just clamp onto you and be like, follow me around at this party. I want you to be my friend, kind of energy.
Yeah.
And she was also making friends with this amazing character, Amazon Ashley, who was there. And so I knew about all of them just through pop culture and whatnot.
Right.
And a girl who I knew when I was a kid and just grew up with through Little People of America,
Mm-hmm.
was hanging out with her at Beachers a lot. And I was like so thrilled, you know, she ended up getting, you know, on that concert tour. And I could just see it through social media or whatever that they were traveling together the country by the time she started her national tour of this Bangers tour.
Right.
That was when she did the full like dance with Robin Thicke, and she's twerking, and it was like popping off. And Hannah Montana was like long gone.
Yeah.
And so I was that was all I knew to my knowledge. And then like summer 2014 rolls around. I'm like 24 at this time.
Yeah.
My uh friend Tara Jolie, who is a producer and personality on the show Little Women LA,
Yeah.
which is a reality show, kind of like Real Housewives, but a group of little women.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also literally manifested making her my friend as a child, like obsessed with her through MySpace, because Tara was the original mini Britney Spears.
Yeah.
And I've always been obsessed with Britney Spears. She's a huge inspiration to me. And so like I would try to sneak into clubs to go see Tara, and you know, they wouldn't let me in or whatever. I wasn't like 18 or at the time, and finally like gave up on it. Well, so I don't know, she got my number from someone, and I woke up like jobless one morning. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I slept in until noon, and like I get like I wake up and I see a text message and like a bunch of missed calls, and it's like Tara, and she's saying like, do you want to travel with Miley Cyrus? I need to know in 1 hour. And I was like, I just remember being like,
Yes.
and ultimately it was like the character who the other little woman that was on the road with her
Yeah.
didn't want to go travel to the South American leg of the tour.
Ah.
So I just popped in and like filled in for her for like a bunch of shows. Me and this other amazingly talented little woman, her name's Jordana. And Tara just, I don't know where she got my number still to this day, but she was just like, I know that you dance. I know that because I was in that dance troupe Raid. She's like, I know you're doing music videos. Like, why don't you, you know, just pop in like and do it? And it was insanity. It was like learning 8 dance routines in less than a week.
Oof.
And the blocking changed in every single city. Like
Oh.
this would sometimes be one giant platform, or sometimes it would be a plus sign,
Right.
or sometimes it was like a raised platform with two like hexagons on the side. There was no rhyme or reason to it, and like if I had a chance to go back and do it again, I would have had more fun, like not thinking about it so hard
Yeah.
to get all the moves right and all this stuff, because the whole time I was just like, perfection, like it has to be perfect, it has to be perfect. But the vibe was very just like party atmosphere, and yeah.
Now, have you ever taught dance?
I I mean, technically, I in our dance troupe, I we would do a choreographed piece at called the Midnight Mashup Show
Right.
every Saturday. So we would get together at a dance studio during the week, and I would like in my notebook beforehand write down everything that I want it to be,
Yeah.
and who's gonna move where, and who's standing, who's holding who, whatever, all that stuff. So, I mean, in a way, like,
Yeah.
kind of like not fully teaching choreography, but like, okay, I'm gonna teach you this dance,
Yeah.
and it would be like a whole collaborative thing a lot of times, and that was really fun. But I never really like taught dance. I loved going to dance class though,
Yeah.
a lot of time, and I even did some in college too.
I mentioned that just because, at Performing Arts Studio West, we have acting, we have music, we have dance. And I thought, oh, maybe when we get out of quarantine, you could come
That
to a dance
that could be fun. I
with
was
Nancy.
addicted to the school dance growing up. Like, and in high school, I went to every single one. By the time like senior year, I won prom queen. I was dancing like crazy all over the place. Um, I was always in clubs and performing, and it wasn't like I needed to like really drink or anything. It was just more about like I need to hear this music loudly, and um I've just always been super passionate about pop culture and community, and seeing like reactions of people when certain songs come on, or like things like that.
Tell me about Fleck.
Oh gosh. My character Fleck, she was basically a combination of everything that I've always wanted to do on a stage up to that point. Now, like, it's been like 3 years. I would push it even more.
Yeah.
Um, in something else, but I loved that character so much. She was an acrobat clown
Yeah.
who was the minion of the Phantom from Phantom of the Opera. And
Right.
the show was the sequel to the first Phantom. And it was also created by Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Right. How
Um,
was it, by the way, how was it working with him? Oh my God, look at you. I mean, all these people that you've worked with and they've worked with you. And it's like, oh,
he
love never dies.
he was obsessed with that show.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget like how I think he expressed, I mean, he did express that he I think at the time when that show was originally made,
Hmm.
his cat jumped onto the electric piano and deleted like the entire catalog of what he had worked on. And at that time, the show was being pushed in London to open. This was like 10 years before we did the show.
Right.
It was being pushed to be opened at a time I think he was also battling cancer. And so I don't know if it was like a thing where there was like a lot of cooks in the kitchen,
Yeah.
and maybe the story and some of the characters like got diverted from originally what his vision was.
Hmm.
But the character Fleck originally started as an average height person that was sort of like a morose narrator throughout the show. And if you listen to the original music, you can kind of see that energy. But when our director, Simon Phillips, for our version of the show, took it over and asked Andrew, like, years later, you know, can I reopen this show? But like, I know that it, for a time, it was in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And he reworked it all so it had more of an emphasis, like our freaky, you know, freak show characters and circus characters all played like this multi-level layered like versions of what Coney Island was supposed to be like in the early 1900s.
Right.
And that's where the Phantom escapes to after the opera house burns down at the beginning of the first one.
Yeah.
In the sequel, he runs to Coney Island and, you know, is working on his own show as his own, like, under a different moniker. And so me and my two cohorts play his minions. I still say BFFs, but my homie Richard and my homie Steven. And one is super tall. His name is Dr. Gangle. Richard was the strong man, Squelch.
Right.
And I played Fleck. And we would do this, it's called Adagio, but it's a form of acrobatic ballet where like me as the flyer is in the center and then the two of them are on either side or somewhere around me. Like our hands are on each other at all times and we're using each other to constantly like paint these different like images and pictures with our bodies.
Yeah.
I'm always like standing on their necks or they're throwing me like, you know, up in the air, like holding onto my ankles and my wrists. Like it was so fun. And we were doing 35 lifts per show.
Wow.
Sometimes the show was twice a day and, you know, we were doing like 8 shows a week.
Yeah.
And so, Fleck was the hardest physical job I had ever done up until that point in my life.
Right.
Up until this 2020. But I learned so much from that role and I had never been in a musical before. So when I showed up to the audition, like I just showed up in like a crop top pink like sweatsuit and with like earrings. I was like, "What's up, guys?" Like they were just like, "Who is she? Like what is going on here?" And I ended up creating Fleck into what I already knew, which was like a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of creepy circus, basically evil Tinkerbell is who she was. And I had a really important role in the show later on in Act 2.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful to that director because he really beefed out the role to like let me basically be in every scene. And we had so much fun. We were hamming it up. And I was like, that was another thing I manifested. I was like, I want to be on the largest prop in every scene. And so I was like driving the carriage. I was on the unicorn carousel. Like I was running up a thing, like all kinds of fun stuff. So
Wow.
I'd always wanted to be like Uma Thurman in Kill Bill is like my dream role.
Right.
To have a little person seen as something like that. Yeah.
Your poster back there, Kill Bill.
And there was a moment in rehearsals where I convinced them to have my two partners run with me on either side and place me on top of a piano. that was then going to be spinning. And the whole show is also spinning on a revolve at the same time. So they were like, I don't know, are you sure? I was like, I'm going to stand up on this piano and like follow center and like freak this crowd out. And the whole time, I mean, it was hysterical because everyone else was, you know, like major, you know, doctorates in theater and opera, and they all know how to play instruments and know like notes by heart and all this stuff. And I've just always been someone who's really good at like doing impressions of sounds. I would just be like, just tell me how you want it to sound like. And then they would be like, this. And I would be, you know, I would just trill it out and do it the same way I would memorize a pop song on the radio. And that's just how I made my way like through it. There's no way that they would be like, do a D sound here and then go to a high G or like whatever. I'd be like, just tell me like how you need it. And then it would work out perfectly. And everybody was so cool. And they taught me so much and all of the lingo and stage stuff, you know.
Wow.
It was really cool.
No!